After the rebellion of 1857, British racism increased. People of Great Britain read about the massacre of British citizens within India. Newspapers portrayed Indians as barbaric and encouraged the attitude of revenge. Political views following the rebellion of 1857 seemed very intense. After the 1857 rebellion, the British and EIC decided that their governing needed to change because of the Indian and British relationships and new demands. Because of the tense atmosphere in India, the Government of India Act of 1858 was passed. This moved all power of the East India Company to the British monarchy. Queen Victoria's Proclamation of 1858 was also passed, which ensured that Indian rulers would not rebel against British authority. It removed the Dalhousie's authority that let the EIC confiscate land and rule of an area. It also included princely states into the hierarchy of the British Empire. Victoria's Proclamation of 1858 was also passed, which ensured that Indian rulers would not rebel against British authority. It removed Dalhousie's authority that let the EIC confiscate land and rule of an area. It also included princely states into the hierarchy of the British Empire. It states that the Queen and her representatives cannot take part in Indian religious practices and beliefs. The rebellion of 1857 made the British reorganize the land and tax resources entirely. When the British gained control again after the revolt, they forced India to pay the losses of the battle. This is called the Indian debt. They used the money to finance a better Indian army. The system continued to intensify after 1857 through the Reformation. The British and Indian divided cities into white and black towns. The British citizens were treated with prominence, thus Indian citizens then became less willing to obey the will of the British.
Colonial government tried to bring more Indian beliefs and traditions after Queen Victoria's Proclamation 1858. By doing these actions, the British believed the Indians would act calmer than before while still being in complete control. Local elites felt sheltered by the British since they gave the locals power after the mutiny. Many Indians believed that any colonial rule would turn violent. In India, new advancements were made, such as extensive railways, newspapers, and faster communications. Indians are being educated about liberalism by English and British rulers. Unified India was created through the debates freedom of British rule. Rebellion of 1857 gave a boost for India to govern itself and free itself of British rule. Some of Indian nationalism came from the colonial rule of 1860 through 1870s. One of these changes led to Indian nationalism is when changed Delhi to a hub of power. This made it so there can be princes and elites as local rulers. British continued to aid Indian elite ruling power by supporting Indian political representation. Representational power of Indians were limited by the Municipal Court Acts of 1882. Authoritative presence lowered as India changed to representation. And now watch it not record at all.